Okay, hello, and welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really zeroing in on something that's, well, absolutely essential if you're working in life sciences right now: automation. I mean, it's gone way past being just a nice to have, hasn't it? It's really become the backbone for, efficiency and compliance, especially for teams like your field reps, your MSLs, that's medical science liaisons, of course, or your commercial ops folks. Automating tasks just helps streamline everything, keeps things compliant, lets you scale how you engage. Now, the source material we've been digging into for this deep dive, it points to two major players in this specific automation space: Salesforce's Agentforce and Veeva Vault Workflows. And yeah, at a glance, they both aim to automate and make teams more effective, sure. But our mission today is to really unpack the core differences between them. We're talking AI agents versus structured workflows. We want you to leave this deep dive with a clear picture of what each offers and, importantly, how life sciences teams are actually putting them to use out there. And there's this really interesting, almost philosophical difference at the heart of it all. One is built on following a very specific predefined path, step by step. The other, it's designed to adapt, to make decisions in real time based on what's happening right now. That core contrast, I think, is what makes comparing them so fascinating.
That distinction really is key. It's the perfect place to start getting a handle on the basic concepts. So when we talk about Veeva Vault workflow automation, we're discussing something that's, well, deeply ingrained in the life sciences industry. These are rule-based processes. They're built directly into the Veeva Vault platform. They handle critical functions like that, like managing approvals, sending out notifications, assigning tasks, routing information for essential business processes. Think about getting marketing materials or, say, slide decks reviewed and approved by medical, legal, regulatory teams. The whole MLR process, that sequence, often a workflow. It's also used for logging rep activities like call reports, managing different versions of important documents, maybe even getting approvals for territory changes, things like that. The defining feature here is definitely their structure and auditability. They follow consistent, validated pathways. And this is incredibly important in life sciences because it helps reduce human error. And it strongly supports compliance with regulations like GXP, that's good practice, covering areas like manufacturing, clinical trials, lab work, where quality and documentation are just paramount.
Right. Non-negotiable, really.
Exactly. These workflows are all about predictability and reliability baked into every single step.
Okay, so Viva Vault workflows are kind of like building this carefully engineered, totally compliant highway. Every car has to take the exact same route, guaranteeing safety and consistency.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Now let's look at Salesforce Agentforce. This is Salesforce's platform specifically for building autonomous AI agents. Now, unlike workflows that just follow preset instructions for a process, these agents are designed to, well, interpret data as it happens, take actions across different systems, learn from feedback to get better over time, and guide users through complex tasks or decisions dynamically. Our sources describe Agentforce as this intelligent layer that sits on top of Salesforce's existing clouds, things like their CRM, customer relationship management, where you track interactions with doctors and hospitals, Service Cloud, Health Cloud, and others. The big difference from standard workflows is their ability to respond dynamically. Instead of just following a fixed sequence of steps, A, then B, then C, these agents react and adapt based on real-time context and incoming data. This could be anything from, say, a sudden change in drug formulary coverage, or maybe analyzing how a healthcare professional and HCP is feeling about a product based on recent interactions. That's sentiment analysis. Or even just looking at a rep's recent activity patterns.
Interesting. So if Viva Vault workflows are the structured, predictable highway, Salesforce Agentforce is more like having this super smart GPS system plus maybe a co-pilot, someone who's constantly analyzing traffic, weather, local events, even your driving style to suggest the absolute best route right now,
Yeah, okay.
and then adjusts instantly if conditions change.
Precisely. The fundamental difference, as the research points out, is pretty clear. Veeva Vault is centered on structured, predefined workflows. It's for consistency and compliance along a known path. Salesforce Agentforce, on the other hand, is about enabling adaptive AI agents that can respond dynamically and learn from the environment around them.
Okay, let's unpack Viva Vault's role a bit more first then. Our source material really highlights its strengths, especially for organizations where, process consistency and, crucially, compliance are the absolute top priorities.
That's right. And the strengths of Veeva Vault mentioned in our sources, they align perfectly with the demands of a regulated industry like life sciences. For instance, they offer GXP-validated templates. This means they come pre-configured in a way that helps meet those strict regulatory requirements we talked about for quality, for documentation, pretty much straight out of the box.
which saves a lot of hassle, I imagine.
Definitely. And the routing is incredibly reliable. Processes like that MLR review we mentioned, or distributing approved content, logging details from a sales call, they follow the same predictable, consistent steps every single time. This is just essential for creating audit trails, ensuring nothing gets missed. Critical in a regulated environment. And for the field teams, usability is generally high. Most reps are already familiar with interacting with CRM systems and workflows, right? So training on Vault workflows is usually pretty straightforward. Plus, there's strong synchronization with other Veeva products like PromoMats for promotional materials and MedComs for medical content, which are, standard tools for managing approved content in life sciences.
Those strengths really do underline its value for compliance, for predictability. Can you give us maybe a couple more concrete examples, just day-to-day uses based on what the sources say?
Sure. Beyond content approval and call logging, the sources mentioned using Vault workflows for things like routing medical inquiries that come in, getting them to the correct medical information teams quickly and reliably. It's also used extensively for managing version control of core scientific documents, making sure everyone is always working with the latest approved data sheet or clinical summary. Super important. These are absolutely critical areas where having a predictable, documented process is, well, non-negotiable. Now, the source does note one limitation here. These workflows, they need to be manually updated if business needs or regulations change.
Ah,
So if there's a new piece of compliance that affects a process, you need to add a step, someone has to actually go in and reconfigure it. This can sometimes impact speed and flexibility compared to, say, more dynamic systems. But for those tasks demanding rigorous, auditable steps, Vault is really built for that specific purpose.
that makes total sense. So Vault gives you that robust, reliable structure, but maybe updating that structure takes a bit more effort. Okay, all right, let's switch gears then to Agentforce. The source frames this as almost a new level of automation, not just automating a process you designed yourself, but having these intelligent agents that can actually think and act based on live data inputs. This is where things get really interesting because it feels different.
It is a fundamentally different paradigm, yeah. Agentforce is designed for AI-driven actions, often layered on top of unified data sources. Think information about HCPs, past engagement history, market dynamics, all pulled together. Its key strengths, according to our sources, include real-time responsiveness. The agent can adapt to new information immediately without needing a human to step in or a workflow to be reprogrammed. That goes back to that dynamic nature we talked about. It also supports low-code configuration, which means teams can build and deploy agents using tools within the Salesforce ecosystem like Flow for process automation, Apex for custom development, Prompt Builder for guiding the AI interactions. And they can do it relatively quickly. A huge advantage is its cross-system action capability. These agents aren't just stuck looking at CRM data. They can pull data from and take action across sales, service, marketing, even integrated third-party systems. And they have this continuous learning aspect. The agents can actually improve their guidance and performance over time as they process more data and get feedback.
So, okay, instead of just automating a fixed sequence like A, B, C, D,
Right.
Agentforce allows an agent to analyze a specific situation, look at all the available data, and then decide, okay, based on everything I know right now, the most effective next step is X, Y, or Z, and it can change its mind if the data changes a minute later.
Exactly. Where in a traditional workflow, a human predefined steps A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
Agentforce allows the AI agent to determine the optimal path, though within defined guardrails, of course. It uses real-time intelligence, which naturally raises the important question. What does this actually look like in practice? How do these agents really take action on the ground?
That's the key, isn't it? How does this translate into actual tasks for teams? The source gives some really compelling examples of Agentforce in action.
They do. One example they give is rep call guidance. So before a sales rep visits an HCP, an Agentforce agent can prepare this sophisticated contextual brief. And this isn't just basic contacts info. It includes things like the HCP's recent prescription data, their history of engagement with the company, and critically, it suggests the next best action tailored specifically for that visit based on all the data the agent has crunched.
Wow, okay. That's pretty powerful.
It is. Another use case is medical inquiry triage. Instead of relying only on manual processes, AI agents can quickly route incoming medical inquiries based on the topic, the urgency, maybe the profile of the HCP asking. And what's more, they can even suggest compliant draft responses for the medical team to review and approve. That can significantly speed up response times while still maintaining compliance.
That could save a lot of time.
Definitely. Territory optimization is another powerful application mentioned. An agent can look at weekly activity logs, evolving prescription trends, analyze that data across a rep's territory, and then actively reprioritize accounts that need attention, maybe even flag accounts that seem to be at risk of low engagement before it becomes a major issue.
So it's proactive.
Exactly. Proactive intelligence. And even for something like planning advisory boards or scientific events, agents can suggest key opinion leaders, KOLs, who might be suitable participants. They do this by pulling together data points about their scientific activity, publications, insights gathered by field teams, all that stuff. So you can start to see how Agentforce is particularly powerful in situations where leveraging real-time data and enabling adaptive, intelligent decision-making directly supports growth and efficiency, especially in these really dynamic environments.
It really sounds like it brings this layer of dynamic intelligence right on top of operations. Okay, so for our listener then, grappling with this, how do you figure out which model, the structured, predictable workflow or the adaptive intelligent agent is right for you? Or maybe how do you decide where each fits best?
That's the central question, isn't it? And our sources offer some pretty clear guiding principles for making that choice. You probably lean towards Veeva Vault workflows if your primary focus is on structured, validated processes that need to be absolutely bulletproof for compliance. Rock solid. Maybe your business needs in a specific area are relatively stable, heavily dictated by regulatory requirements. Perhaps your team values consistency and reliability in process execution over, say, high configurability or adaptability for that particular function. And maybe your IT resources are more focused on maintaining established systems rather than extensive custom development for everything. In these kinds of scenarios, particularly in areas demanding rigorous MLR review or GxP validation, Vault provides that essential peace of mind. It ensures reliable, documented execution.
Got it. Predictability is king there.
Right. On the other hand, you'd likely look toward Salesforce Agentforce if your teams need real agility, fast, data-driven decision support to stay competitive. Maybe you have a strategic plan to scale the use of AI across various functions, both commercial and medical. You see AI as a growth engine. You need automation that can actually evolve and improve as your business changes, as more data becomes available, without constant manual updates for every little shift. And importantly, if you're already making investments in bringing your data together, data unification, and building logic for next best actions, suggesting the optimal step based on data analysis, Agentforce is really designed for those teams who need real-time intelligence and adaptive capabilities to drive growth and operational efficiency in a fast-moving market.
That breaks it down really clearly based on priorities and capabilities. It's definitely not a simple one-size-fits-all answer, is it? But what if you don't have to choose just one? Is there a way they can actually work together?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the sources highlight this strongly. Many life sciences organizations are finding real value in blending both approaches.
Yeah.
It's often less about either and more about how do they complement each other. A common hybrid model they describe is, well, keeping Veeva as the robust system of record for essential content management, the CRM foundation, those critical compliance-driven processes where its validated workflows are just invaluable.
Right, the core compliance engine.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Salesforce, potentially enhanced by Agentforce, powers the layer of AI-driven insight, sophisticated engagement strategies, maybe cross-system orchestration. Agentforce agents can then bring those intelligent actions and recommendations directly to users within their daily workflows, whether those workflows originate purely in Salesforce or are being tracked alongside Veeva activities. The point our sources really make is that these two platforms aren't mutually exclusive at all, but understanding their distinct strengths, Vault for that bulletproof process control and auditable structure, Agentforce for scalable, AI-powered automation that learns and adapts that understanding helps you set realistic expectations. It helps you optimize how you leverage each platform's capabilities. You don't necessarily need to rip out your existing Veeva structure to start benefiting from Agentforce's intelligence layer. It can often augment, enhance what you already have in place.
That's a critical nuance, I think. It's really about using the right tool for the specific job. And sometimes the best solution is integrating the strengths of both platforms. So as we wrap up this deep dive, the core takeaway seems to be that Veeva Vault Workflows and Salesforce Agentforce represent two different, yet potentially complementary philosophies of automation in life sciences.
That's right. Think of Vault as the master of structured workflow, providing those reliable, auditable, predefined paths that are just essential for compliance and consistency, especially in tricky areas like MLR review. And Agentforce as the engine for adaptive intelligence, bringing AI agents that can learn, respond dynamically to real-time data, and scale intelligent automation across different parts of the business. So, as you consider your own organization's path forward with automation, it's really helpful to ask the questions posed by our sources right at the end. What specific problems are we genuinely trying to solve with automation right now? What level of automation complexity and adoption is our team actually ready for today? And looking ahead, what capabilities will we realistically need tomorrow as the industry and our business continue to evolve?
Yeah, those are key practical questions. And building on those, maybe consider this as a final thought for your own reflection. How does the fundamental philosophical difference between you meticulously designing every single step of a process beforehand, like with a Vault workflow, versus empowering an AI agent to intelligently choose and adapt the best path within essential guardrails, like with Agentforce? How does that difference fundamentally change not just the technology systems you use, but the very way your teams operate, how they make decisions, and ultimately how they adapt to this incredibly fast-moving landscape of life sciences? It's really a shift in how work gets done. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into life sciences automation.